but I did want to scoot ahead. Had a pretty fun match this week. Couple of Champions Leaguers. Lyon hosted Paris FC. Paris FC was super stingy on defense. Love to see that. They played great. Shout out to 21-year-old defender Ould Hocine Célina. She's the defender with the red hair for Paris FC, who was fucking everywhere. She was ready. She had a monster game. But Lyon is just good, man. Even taking Paris FC's best shot, they were still better than Paris FC by 1 goal. 1 Wendy Renard, 1 Candidate Diani, 1 Melchi Dumornay, 1 Delphine Cascarino, and 1 Vicky Beccio. None of them who played. So those omissions from the lineup due to just kind of either rest or just injury kind of made it somewhat of a fair fight. But even then, Lyon found a way to kind of sneak this one out.
Cracking another beer for this one, buddy, because this is what the fuck I'm talking about when I said football is back. That was a good match. Paris FC, they understood that they needed to come in there and play some underdog football, but not scared underdog football. That was one of my big takeaways. I'm so glad you mentioned Hocine. She's a fucking bulldog back there. And she has been throughout the Champions League. Full body slide tackles. She's thrown herself in front of shots. There was one mention in my notes here. Hocine goes after a corner kick and just gets dumped by Le Sommer, who probably who does have a significant size advantage over her. I'll say Hocine, pretty slight frame for a center back. Doesn't matter. Size of the fight and the dog. That's how she's out there playing. And I would say she's out there playing 100 miles per hour, or maybe to adjust for the Europeans, 161 kilometers per hour is her speed on the pitch constantly. Just crucial interventions, and especially crucial one late in the match as well. So just cannot say enough about Hocine.
Yeah, I mean, she plays big too. Like, she does get bullied, which you'd love to see. I thought Ellie Carpenter for Lyon, she was cooking out there. I mean, always she was just flying up and down the field. I mean, she just looked like she was on a different speed. Selma Bacha, not breaking news here. I love when we get to see Lyon play Bacha ball. Yep. She just plays end line to end line. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if the ball's on her side of the field, she's like, I got it. Like, she just finds a way to the ball. She just has it.
Always.
She's just like a point guard that has like a super high usage rate. She's unbelievable. I kind of felt a little tinge of regret not maybe even having her in my starting 11, finding a way to kind of work her in, because she's just so unbelievable. So shout out to her.
Totally with you. I mean, you think about all the genius passers and distributors that Lyon have. In the first 10 minutes of that match, they're playing through Bacha to initiate the offense in the attacking third. And she's a left back. Like, that is such a testament to what a wonderful passer she is. And so thinking about the pace of the game, I don't want it to turn into a Lyon love fest. I know you got a ton of players on Paris FC that you enjoy. In my notes, I jotted down, I felt like the last 8 to 10 minutes of the first half really did belong to Paris. Ribadera had a shot on goal off the counter. Well, it was going to be a shot on goal. It gets deflected out of play for a corner at the death of the half.
Oh, yeah.
So Ribadera hits it. It goes out. It's for a corner. We're at 45+2, and the ref blows the half dead. Ribadera is irate, and I think rightfully so. I think that is a horseshit way to end the half. I do understand it's like, okay, we play for a scheduled additional 2 minutes. But I just won a corner kick. I feel like you got to get me that. I'm not sure where you land on this.
Well, I mean, if you ever have a chance to take away a potential exciting play, you got to do it.
If you're the ref, yeah. We're here for the ref show.
It's just so terrible. But I feel like 99 times out of 100, maybe 100 out of 100, when that happens, we get to see the corner. Like it's kind of understood that it's like, okay, the corner will come in, and then as soon as that sequence of play comes to an end, then the half's over. But you mean to tell me that, like, while the ball was in the air, the 2 minutes and 11 seconds or whatever elapsed, and, we're going to stick to it to that degree? Kind of lame. I didn't like that at all. I thought Nnadozie in goal had a great showing. She's great. Just talk about a tinge of regret. I was like, I'm happy with Musovic. And I think they were pretty close in the Guardians list as well. So got some validation there. But Nnadozie's just so good. The announcer mentioned, too, that she grew up playing forward and I think came up through the same academy as Asta Oshoala in Nigeria, which makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
She had a great game, but it was one of her free kicks that went all the way out almost to midfield, found the head of Damaris Egarola, who somehow got an unbelievable header that flew 25 yards in the air. I think it was intended for Lindsay Horan maybe, and it was just kind of out of her reach. Finds Ada Hegerberg. She gets a knee on it. Just perfect whip around. And just a shot that just doesn't feel like humans should be allowed to make a shot like that.
She hits it, and you talk about Nnadozie. I totally agree. Shout out to Cam Pope, who was calling that match. I thought that was an awesome bit of information that he had dropped. And it's funny, like, not to act like I have any real knowledge here, but I think we had talked about a few weeks ago. Every time I watch her play, I'm like, she could be an outfield player. I'm almost certain that she could. So when Pope dropped that, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And Nnadozie on the Hegerberg shot, full extension, great dive. There's just nothing you can do when Hegerberg hits a strike like that. And so the Norwegian legend does it again. Who can be surprised? But great effort from Nnadozie and a great effort from Perry FC to see that one go in on that shot. It's heartbreaking because if you can pull a draw out of that, you feel great. And I know pro athletes do not take moral victories. As somebody who appreciates Perry FC, I can take a little bit of a moral victory out of this, I think.
I agree with that. I mean, they definitely came to play, and they definitely gave them a game. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but at the final whistle, there was at least 3 or 4 Lyon players that just crumpled to the floor.
Absolutely.
I was like, okay. Yes. They went through it. I mentioned Damaris Agarola, who got the ball into Hegerberg on that play. A few minutes earlier, she committed a pretty obvious foul in the box on Luna Ribadera, who we mentioned, who just got tough breaks. That one went uncalled, not entirely sure why. In that moment, though, when we saw the no call, it kind of felt like a backbreaker for Pre-FC. They should have got a penalty kick. And now at that point, you got to kind of emotionally overcome being down 1 goal. Because you're like, we should be up in this fucking match. So you almost have to kind of win by 2 goals in that instance to make it up. And I think sometimes emotionally that takes a big toll. And again, a few minutes later, they give up the goal to Hegerberg. What are you going to do? Good showing from them. Obviously, they're still alive in the league. They're still alive in Champions League. So pretty excited to see what they've still got left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, they brought on Julie Defour in the 88th minute for some extra boost, a last-ditch attacking. It's a heartbreaker, but I hope their manager comes to them and says, we worked them. I know the possession ended up being close to 60-40, somewhere in that ballpark, I believe. But they played, I'll say it again, they played not scared underdog football. They tried to string together passes where they could, and they could in some stretches. And so I think they should take a lot from that and take that into the Champions League and say, we're alive in this thing, and we've played well in the Champions League. That is one thing about international football that I would love to talk to some of these footballers and some of these managers about. Like, we look at, I'm going to switch to the men's side real quick. Last season, West Ham kind of getting their asses kicked in the Premier League for good stretches. And they go and they win the Europa Conference League. Their fans, they do like the cheeky chant of champions of Europe, we know who we are, and all that stuff. But you know what? They won a fucking trophy. And in that competition, they were blasting dudes. And so, like, I wonder for Perry FC if it's like, okay, that was a Champions League match that we played against Lyon in our league. And we were right there. So I'm really, really curious to see how they carry that back into the competition.
I think they're definitely going to carry that momentum forward. Kind of excited to see that Pre-FC 1 point behind Häcken in Group D, but they've got a game against Häcken coming up here. So essentially they control their own destiny in that tournament. They're obviously way, way live in Group D in the Champions League. Chelsea is on 8 points. Häcken's on 7. Pre-FC is on 6. Pre-FC plays both of those teams. So they could still win this group. And obviously like giving Lyon that kind of match. And, you mentioned the possession battle, which I thought was interesting. Didn't feel like a 60-40 game.
That's true.
And then the last note there, our guy Cam Pope called it out, Killer Cam. He was like, nothing to sneeze at that they kept Lyon off the board in the first 10 minutes, because we've commented on this pod that it feels like Lyon in the first 10, it's already 1-0, like at least. So shout out to Pre-FC for pretty much almost stealing this one. And I think a little bit more than a moral victory because, again, they could look at that penalty kick that 9 times out of 10 is a penalty kick. They lost the corner before halftime. At worst, they probably feel like we were even. We should have walked away from this one with at least a point.
Absolutely. And to your point, if they get that penalty call and they're up 1-0, we could have won this football game. They should feel as great as professional athletes could feel after a loss. And I think it's at that point, it's up to your leaders and your coaches to be like, hey, look, like, yeah, we didn't get it done. The result is the result. So we got to do better there, but we are there. We played at that level. Them versus Häcken on January 24th. That's a football game, Bubba.
Let's go.
That's must watch.
Let's go. Oh, man. Talk about my heart being in 2 places.